Singularity U hosted a panel about the future of VR, and then the audience started to ask questions, which led VR's future into robots and teaching AI how to view VR and learn about the empathy they're experiencing and apply that to their AI to help humans. Pretty cool to show like the horror experience and ending it with like, this is not true, this is not real, this is what it's really like. And then have the robots that just witnessed that entire VR demo have this empathy. And that's going back to teaching AI empathy through VR.
See, this is perfect.
Hi, I'm Jasmine Kano. I am an artist, 3D designer, producer, and developer of VR games and experiences. And you are listening to the Drax Files Radio Hour with Joe Yardley.
Hello there and welcome to the Drax Files Radio Hour with Joe Yardley. My name is Draxter Dupre. Hi, Joe.
Hello.
Today on the show, Jasmine Kano, you heard her in the station ID, and Cosmo Sharf about VRLA, the big expo showcase thing in Los Angeles, which wrapped its sixth installment a week ago. And we're going to hear what was good, what was great, and is VR hitting the mainstream yet?
Yeah, it's getting bigger and bigger every day almost.
Right, and all our Second Life enthusiasts can please turn the radio off right now.
Bye.
Goodbye. We're talking about the future, you stuck in the past people. Oh, wait, Joe, you're one of them.
I am. I'm very much stuck in the past. I think I am more stuck in the past than most people.
Also, new origin story later on. A really, really interesting little preview of sorts to an upcoming video that I'm working on. And since we're taping this show earlier than usual, no commentary on the big Apple event that is happening. I think it's called, I don't know if the official name is Hi Siri or Hey Siri. When you're listening to this, dear listener, the event will have happened, but we don't know what it's going to be about. It's probably not going to be about AR, VR.
No, not yet. Not yet.
Right, but there are rumors, as you know.
It's more than rumors. Apple has been filing patents and all that sort of thing. They're definitely working on something.
I'm very much looking forward to looking at my iTunes playlist in VR.
And of course, they'll probably be able to design a virtual reality headset that actually looks good for a change. Stylish
glasses in the style of the 20s.
Oh, well, I would kill for a bakelite VR headset.
Let's do a couple of housekeeping notes quickly. You can get in touch with us. You can ping the show's avatar, Drax Files, send in news scoops, press releases, let us know what's happening in Second Life and elsewhere. I was, of course, kidding earlier. We're going to talk about Second Life-related stuff. As always, we're going to have a nice mix. On Skype, you can leave us a voicemail anytime under Drax Files. The email to this program is radio@draxfiles.com. You can become a sponsor with us. You can have your own banners displayed. You can have a voluntary subscription of only $100 Linden per month. We have lots of great sponsors at the business level, like, for example, Humanoid Animation is the premier dance animation maker. And I wonder who does not have a Humanoid Animations dance hut, I ask you. Not you, Joe, anybody out there. You don't, I know, because they don't have flapper dances, I know that.
Even flapper dances are too modern for me. I'll do a little waltz now and then.
You can support us, like I said, and then we will get you a cool subscription device made by Chris Lehman from Botanical. But let's go to the news here. We talked about it briefly last week. Second Life cloud startup and sponsor of this show, Bright Canopy, had a rough opening weekend, and what apparently happened in a nutshell, Chaos Priestman was at an in-world meetup and disclosed that information. They were counting on much lower pricing for the servers that they rent from Amazon's Elastic Compute Cloud service.
Yeah, that's your problem. It's elastic. That means that, the price can change. It's not set in stone.
And it's really hard to kind of, I guess, construct a business model around that. Was certainly a lot of people wanted to do it, and it's my understanding, and I want to of course here give a shout out to Inara Pei, who has a brilliant write-up on,
as always,
really the best journalist in Second Life working today.
Anyway, the problem is that, of course, the only way SRGo could promise us a really good price, I think it was $10 a month, was because they had their own service. And if you're if you're dependent on someone else, things can change, at the drop of a hat, and that's when trouble starts. And I think that's what happened here.
Yeah, but Amazon also has a demand service where the prices are stable, but also, according to Inara, they also, as she wrote up Chaos Priestman's in-world meeting notes, also increased from 25 cents an hour to 80 cents an hour. So that's also significant. This is my question to you. Maybe it's not sustainable at this point. Maybe cloud services are just too expensive, period.
When SL Go went, they said they were really close to breaking even, not on live gaming.
That's right.
That was
just SL Go. Yeah, you're right.
SL Go on its own, purely on its own, just with the people in Second Life, was close to making a profit. Also, they said, and I still think that there is money to be made here, and even if you just break even, not make a huge profit on it, but just break even, I think it would be worth it for Linden Lab, because it would mean that YouTube and the internet would be flooded with high quality videos and pictures, and people would finally be seeing Second Life as good as it can be.
You're jumping to the next topic that I actually wanted to discuss, streaming on YouTube gaming. As we had talked about, YouTube has a gaming channel. There is Second Life. You can look at Second Life, of course, when it comes up. And this is what I really don't understand. When you search for Second Life and it comes up under games, under titles, the first 20, 30, 40 videos, even when you switch to the latest tab, there are different tabs. There's popular, there's latest. It's really junk, and some of the videos that are listed under popular have maybe 50 something views. I don't have as many views as the birthing video, which has 8 million, but I have more than 50 views. So I don't understand why my videos are not coming up when I go to YouTube Gaming and I look up the title Second Life and I look in latest, what was uploaded last week or last month, and I'm nowhere to be found.
It's a completely new sort of channel. It's a new thing. So maybe we don't quite get how it works yet. I don't know.
The videos that are being generated, they're listed and they come from the pool of videos that are on YouTube. They have nothing to do with streaming per se. They are already uploaded there. The question is, how is that being selected? And it looks to me like some sort of, like the algorithm that YouTube employs here is specifically putting, the tabloidy stuff higher.
Well, they do know that those videos get the most viewers. I mean, Grieving in Second Life gets hundreds and thousands of views.
But I'm saying there are videos that have maybe 50, 100 views, but they have that same subject. The algorithm that compiles that stuff is not necessarily view-based. It is really kind of exploitation-based, which would be crazy.
Yeah. Or just based on what YouTube knows is the most popular.
Yeah, shitty exploitation and regurgitating narratives that Second Life is somehow the cesspool of civilization.
And what simply is the funniest.
If I were Linden Lab executives, I would go there right now and ask them, guys, what is the deal? How does this work? You don't have to be as confrontational as I'm right now. Of course, you can be very nice. Says, hello, YouTube. I am Linden Lab Executive XYZ, or I'm such and such. Can you please explain why these videos are listed up top and other videos that we know exist, for example, by Mr. Dupre over here, or Kaya Angel, or whoever, or the disabled community? Why are they not there?
Well, yeah, go ahead and ask them.
Yeah. But I am not Linden Lab employee executive XYZ.
Well, you can still ask them.
All right, executive XYZ, who I know you're listening at 6 in the morning when this goes live. Could you please make a call to YouTube? Thank you. Another article, when we don't have time to get into it, but Inara is writing about the gateway programs. They're coming to Second Life, which is super exciting to me. I think the gateway programs where there's a hand-holding thing happening with new signups that go in and they go to islands that are nice, and where there are people there, they help them. That program is coming back, and it's apparently a collaboration with the Firestorm team. So I hope to have Jessica Lyon on and Patch Linden, who is in charge over at Linden Lab, to working on this stuff. I think that's an exciting development. Real quick to you, would you sign up, Joe, 1920s Berlin, or is that too much work maybe?
I think that perhaps 1920s Berlin is a little bit too demanding for new users, and we demand people to change their clothes, and today with the mesh avatars and the way Second Life works, that is quite a difficult job.
I have a crazy idea. How about there would be a 1920s Berlin avatar, male and female, on the sign-up page?
Yeah, that would be great. I would. What I would really like to see is some sort of portal that's online on the website. Every region or every gets their own page on the Second Life website.
Right, and then according to that genre, avatars that fit.
Yeah, but when you get to the page, it's almost like every region gets their own website. You can read the instructions, you can read the rules, you can teleport, of course. Maybe get a few, choose an avatar from that page that we will provide, or close, things like that, so that you can go from one page straight into a sim that you like with the avatar and quite a bit of knowledge about the.
That's a great idea, and it's actually fairly easy, like a marketplace browser window on that page to that particular gateway with things that match that look. I mean, that's a great idea.
At the moment, we can't help all the new avatars who visit Berlin. It's just too much hassle.
This is the good old catch-22 when Linden Lab wants to promote really cool communities, but then at the same time, noobs who are not ready for their own prime time come in, and then there's not the manpower to deal with them. But the luxury that the new VR crowd has to wax philosophical how they're going to do everything, Linden Lab doesn't. So let's go to our main topic.
If only Linden Lab was, going to start from scratch with a whole new virtual world. Oh, wait.
Oh, right, exactly. Look at that.
Well, hey.
Let's talk about VRLA. That's the main topic. We have two guests, so we have very little time. They're going to talk about all this stuff. But Joe, I was going to ask you from afar. Me also, I wasn't there. It's a huge conference with thousands of people testing all sorts of things. What did you find that you found kind of compelling from afar? Do you think, because they're going to talk about this too, the resurgence of the arcade, where we go to a place of entertainment because we cannot afford those big contraptions at home, but they will be at that place. What do you think? Is that something appealing to you personally?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it is the 1980s all over again. This is an experience that we will never be able to, have in our home, because not only do these people create this real 3D space with props and buildings and sound effects and heat and cold and rain. It is an actual space. There are walls and there are panels and there's doors.
Okay, now you're describing the void essentially. Let's and we're going to link to a video, which is a fascinating video that's out there. The void is essentially a physical place with walls that are made of foam of some density. It's unclear what kind of foam, but you have a tactile experience, and on your HMDs you have the synchronized virtual experience. So when you open a door that you see in a spaceship in your headset, that door is actually physically there. Then there is an experience in that video where a person goes near a fire. So in VR, they see a fire, but in real life, what they don't see is that it's basically just a heating lamp that they go closer. So they have a visual cue with the 3D modeled fire, but in real life, they have the experience for their other senses, obviously, of just a heat lamp. And there's benches where you can sit down. You see the benches in VR, and then you can actually sit down.
This is going to be fun, like a visit to a theme park, which, I haven't been in years. But a couple of years ago in London, they opened the Alien Experience, where you could walk around a real spaceship setup, and there was a guy in an alien suit, which apparently was so scary that even Sigourney Weaver ran out screaming.
I expect, for example, in the Hamburg dungeons, they have real life actors. I would be concerned if I had a gig like that, because with VR, you can just fire all these people. All right, let's take a little breather with some music before we go to our interviews with Cosmo and Jasmine. Here's a tune from our friend Oblay called I Found Love. Oblay is, of course, the subject of a previous Drax file, episode 25, and he was also featured in a local TV segment in Colorado following my episode. I take all the credit. Talk about the media echo chamber.
I found love, all alone love. Went to the river and I found my love and threw all my books away. She said, stay, stay my love. Let's lay in the grass beneath the apple tree and throw all old times away. So I stayed, oh, never left again, no. Smoke rises from the chimney where I live with my love, in the house in the valley, oh, the hills up above, falling down to the river where I found my love, threw all my books away. With me, take my hand, kiss me one time before we take our sleep, in the house in the valley that's next to the creek, falling down to the river where I found my love, threw all my books away.
So that was Oblay with I Found Love. You can get his gig schedule in Second Life, his Second Life gigs and his real life gigs that he does locally at oblaymusic.com. Now, let's get straight to Cosmo Shar from VRLA. He is the co-founder of VRLA, and he's also the co-founder of Visionary VR. They're trying to solve the problem of constructing narrative for VR. The conundrum of, what is too little freedom and what is too much freedom for the audience to kind of gently nudge them into the story. Here's Cosmo with some stats about this latest VRLA.
Just over 2,000 people there. It was pretty successful, I think. We had over 65 exhibitors this time around, which is the most we've ever had. It keeps growing, and obviously the more exhibitors we have, the more relationships that we need to maintain and make sure that everyone knows what's going on.
Obviously, you have those exhibitors. You also had, I'm looking at from afar, I was following on the Twitter stream, you had really compelling, very interesting panels I want to talk about a little bit. But first, what I found fascinating, and we talked about it on the podcast, it seems that the way into VR for the mainstream, not for the crazy geeks who are totally passionate and crazy about this stuff, maybe, a guest last week said, maybe an arcade or like a rebooting of an arcade or in a theme park. And I see a lot of exhibitors had devices where you sit in and in connection with the content being piped into the head-mounted display and, little shaking around here. There's one experience, 2-Bit Circus, right? So talk a little bit about that experience, because I'm assuming that you tried them all.
Yeah, I tried actually most of the big set pieces we had this year. I mean, the cool thing about this past event was, or at least the thing that I was most proud of, was we started to have really legitimate booths. AMD, our marquee sponsor, brought Reload Studios. They had these really nice setup with 8 computers. We had Jaunt, we had Samsung, and we had Airflow, which was showing this harness contraption where you could lie down on it and it would simulate the feeling of flying.
You're on a harness, but you're blown, air is blown into from below, I'm assuming, and you're really kind of hovering because you're in that harness it's attached to your legs and to your arms, and you're basically flying. And
you're basically flying over some mountains, and then there are these colored there's these spheres that are different colors that you can fly into, and they make different little music when you go through them. It was a little hard for me to navigate towards them, but the coolest part about it was being able to so you can move your hands to go faster and like change your speed and direction. And when you put your hands behind your back, the wind increases in speed, so it really feels kind of it really adds to the sensation that like you're kind of manipulating things.
I do hear from you that it's fascinating, but you wouldn't put it in an arcade tomorrow. It's not ready. Maybe we can tackle this in one sitting. A lot of people have said that the fact that Palmer Luckey was on the cover of Time magazine was plenty of articles about how bad that actually is, because that is sort of a lot of people said that this is sort of the beginning of the end, because if the mainstream person sees that some dude barefoot sort of like in that posture, it's not making it easier to kind of sell that to the general public.
Well, about that cover in particular, I don't think that's the beginning of the end at all. I think that's the beginning of the beginning. Like, I don't know what got people so upset about it. I mean, yeah, the cover was kind of ridiculous and not the best, and surely they could have come up with something better. But the fact that, I mean, when people say that, it doesn't make sense to me, because it's a huge deal to be on the cover of this magazine, this mainstream thing, and actually VRLA was mentioned in it, the Spring Expo, so that was pretty cool.
Let's stick with those, what you called set pieces. What do you think of the 2-bit circus thing? You're in a roller coaster seat and the seat is shaking around while you see the content.
Yeah, so they're showing this 360 video of someone driving a race car, and the chair moves around with you. It was cool, but also at the same time sort of frustrating, because I just wished it was a game and not like a video. Like, it was just a passive experience where I was not even really like in the driver's body. Like, I could see the driver's helmet and stuff. Yeah, the camera was kind of right like behind his head, like just above behind his head. And it was a cool view, but it was frustrating not to have any control over the experience. It was just something that I was watching, and the motion made it more fun, certainly. But I really just wanted to stick my hands out and control the car. And I was like, well, why is this a video? But it definitely was a cool experience for sure.
That is, I think, a really tough nut to crack. Where's the agency of the player? I mean, what is the audience going to be? And if a game-savvy audience is being relegated to being the backseat driver, that might actually really backfire.
Just like 360 video as a whole, it's great for documenting real life and capturing real life for whatever kind of moment occurs, whether it's, a race car or a much subtler moment. The issue is there's no interactivity. You can't go anywhere or change it after the fact. I mean, maybe you can add like CG elements onto it, but I think it's fundamentally flawed.
3D modeled content needs to approach a realism that is on par with basically the real world, in other words.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll get there. I mean, right now, 360 video is definitely a novelty. Like, the resolution and quality is really just pretty bad right now. I think in the next 5-10 years, we'll be able to watch videos in 360 that look exactly like real life.
Mm-hmm. What was well received, it seems to me, judging from the tweets and the enthusiasm around it, is that live action thing. And Jaunt VR is doing sports events and music events. And last week we had some folks on. They're doing virtual reality theater, so they're doing a show, but they're filming it from the front row seat, and then you can have it at home, and then you have a premiere experience at home. What is your sense of where this is going with the live action VR for sports and music events or entertainment?
Yeah, I think that's incredibly exciting. The interesting thing is being able to, to give people some sort of experience that they otherwise would never be able to have, whether that's being at the front row or on stage at a concert or being on the sidelines at a soccer game. And that's cool. But the interesting thing is those positions that they're placing the camera currently are actually not necessarily where you want to put the camera. Like, it's cool and it's a novelty, but the regular seats are where they are for a reason. So you can see the whole game and experience the whole game. You know, if you're watching a soccer game, you need to be able to see the whole field. And if you're on the sidelines, you can't see the whole field.
Well, maybe the future of that is soccer or football, whatever, is to have each player has a GoPro head or something, and plus a couple of drones, and then the viewer can sort of switch between the points of view.
Yeah, well, actually, I think there's a company called Virtually Live that they were actually exhibiting and sponsoring the Summer Expo, where they're able to take a live game, like a soccer game, and somehow digitize it and then be able to watch that in VR. So they're able to take the players' positions and kind of recreate it digitally. It seems pretty neat.
People are going to get totally sick. I'm sitting there with my goggles and I'm switching between like full motion of an individual player and I'm looking around, and then all of a sudden I have, like, let's say a drone overhead, that point of view.
Cutting between static shots, there's zero issue with that. That's just like a simple fade. The question is still up in the air, certainly, for what you can do with a moving camera in VR. And I actually think for the most part, it's fine. And you'd be surprised what you could get away with. But yeah, I mean, people need to kind of experiment with that more, certainly.
What did these people have to say about filmmaking? That's something that fascinates me. And you were studying film. I don't know what your current situation is, if you dropped out of school completely or whatever, but you wanted to embark on a traditional linear film career, and now you're in VR. And also from the Twitter stream from VRLA, I hear that people are saying stuff like, storytelling. We're going back to basics. The story matters and all that kind of stuff. I mean, that's to me, that's a no-brainer. But how are people going to tell stories in VR? Let's talk about narrative film. I mean, is there a future, or is it going to be a dead art form for if you combine it with the goggles? What do you think?
So I know precisely how people are going to tell stories in VR. And my company, Visionary, is working on that. But unfortunately, I can't. I got to keep that a secret for now.
Damn,
but,
you got the secret. You got the secret sauce here. I mean, the recipe.
Yeah. No, our team has been working on solving that problem for about half a year now. And we're in the process of fundraising. We're all really excited to get people to start using our software. But unfortunately, at the moment, I can't really talk about exactly what all that means.
Are you saying, or can you say, that this product, the software and the underlying capabilities, are they going to be applicable to live action type VR movies, or just for games?
I can't comment on that.
I guess the input thing to me is always fascinating. How do you kind of navigate? People have different approaches on that front.
I don't think I saw any new sort of controller input things. I mean, one thing that comes to mind is Elementara. They started at USC, and I think they're continuing to work on it. It's this world-building game where you kind of play as this sort of this god that is able to shape the earth around you and paint flowers and trees, etc., onto the ground. And they had I think the STEM system and a crescent bay, so the experience was pretty awesome. And you can like fly around, and it's all pretty intuitive and peaceful, and was one of my favorite things that I got to try.
But it's essentially STEM VR, and that's pretty much it. Or the Oculus controllers.
Yeah, I mean, eventually everyone will be using touch.
Let's talk about the goggle wars. I mean, people have pointed out that Oculus is not the only game in town for a long time now. But you feel that, with the combination of the touch controllers, I mean, how relevant is Oculus going to be? Have they lost some relevance vis-a-vis, I don't know, other goggles? Vove I found incredibly compelling with the eye tracking. I don't know where they are. I mean, there's OpenVR, there's all sorts of things. What do you think? What's that? If we want to frame it as a race or whatever, where are these different players right now?
Well, first of all, I don't think the war has started.
That's when they're in retail is gonna when it starts.
Right, exactly. When everything hits shelves, that's really when it begins. But right now, I think everyone is sort of playing this awkward, like friendly game where they're like trying to sort of help each other out and not really say anything bad about each other. But I think once these devices are available for purchase and real money is involved, and they're doing their best to attract developers and content and all sorts of other things to increase the value of their system, that is the moment when the game really starts. Has Oculus lost anything? I don't think they've lost anything. I mean, certainly I think the Vive kind of caught them off guard and in the way it works and in the quality of it. But that's not stopping Oculus from doing anything. I mean, they have plans and years of product development timeline.
Why, if you real quick for people who have never tried either one, why would you say the Vive quality is surpassing Oculus and the way it feels, or what are the parameters that matter?
I didn't say it surpasses it. I just was commenting about the quality. Like it's good. It's really good. It's a really good experience. The Rift is a really good experience too. The thing that makes them hard to compare, at least from my experience, is that the Vive is by design walk around and the Rift is not. But the thing is, the interesting elements to this conversation is that it seems possible to do walk around with the Rift when you have two cameras and when you have the touch. The question is, how are developers going to make games for that if they're not they can't be for sure, they can't make certain whether someone has that sort of setup or not. But just the experience of walk around is pretty phenomenal when you have enough space. And the sense of presence is way higher. And there's just something about being able to interact with objects or other things in your immediate kind of five feet that is really awesome when you can incorporate your hands as well.
Vive has the Lighthouse system for kind of a complete home solution, including turning your entire room into kind of a little world.
Lighthouse is pretty phenomenal. The tracking is generally just scarily accurate. The real question is, how future-proof is it? And Oculus is just going all in with an optical solution where they have cameras, and I think personally the Rift will have cameras built into it in the coming generations. Ultimately, like what everyone is converging upon is a sort of hybrid VR AR device that you can put on and use all day long, and that will necessitate a bunch of sensors in order for it to work, just like the HoloLens, depth sensors, infrared sensors. I think that sort of approach is the way of the future, where everything is integrated into the device itself, including the GPU and CPU.
The choice that you can just switch, I mean, I guess that's the ultimate future device, right?
Yeah, where you can just tap a thing on the side of your glasses.
Stylish glasses, right?
Tap it, and then you switch out of AR into something completely different.
When the leading systems are so different for the content creator, and how is it going to be displayed in the device, that the content creator has to look very closely to who is then, when the war begins, who's likely to win it.
It's a very interesting dynamic because we have, when you consider the three main HMDs that will be available next year, the Rift, the Vive, and Morpheus. The thing about the Morpheus, it has an install base of over 20 million PS4s. So that's the market right there. Is you have a PS4, or just buy this extra thing, this little accessory, and now you have VR in your living room. And in terms of getting VR out to the masses, I think that Sony is likely to dominate there. I don't necessarily think they'll have the highest quality experience because I think the fastest PC is always going to be better than a PS4. But the Morpheus certainly is still pretty amazing. The challenge for developers right now is really kind of placing a bet on one or more of these major devices.
So Cosmo mentioned a bunch of exhibitors, including 2-Bit Circus and Elementora. We're linking to their videos about the HMD wars. Joe, and for content folks, it will be a challenge to bet on either of the horses, Oculus or the Vive.
No, that's only for now. I mean, it's like the olden days. Is it Betacom or VHS? One system is going to win, and it's probably the one that works on all the headsets.
And Road to VR has an interesting article that Oculus has a social SDK coming. Road to VR writes it's presumed to be designed to help developers to create applications designed for people being together in VR. Joe, can you believe how futuristic that is?
Wow.
People being together, actually having a social experience in virtual reality. I can't believe that people can even think that far ahead into the future. That has never been done before.
We are going to be very, very annoying, but pretty much every time I read a news story about VR, the first thing that pops into my mind is, like we've been doing in Second Life for over a decade.
I think a lot of listeners will object to what you just said, that we are going to be very annoying. I think a lot of people are saying we are annoying.
Yeah, we are. It's getting worse. Let's put it this way, we're getting more annoying.
Yeah, but I mean, the more the stuff comes out, the more annoying you gotta be when people say, people being together in VR, it's amazing. I mean, come on.
We'll be watching movies next.
I know. So let's go to our next feature, because this is really great conversation I had with Jasmine Kano. She's a 3D artist. She's a VR producer from the San Francisco Bay Area. She's very active in the VR community, and so good to see women shaping the technology as well, because she's on the content side, and she's very passionate about stories. When I followed the VRLA Twitter stream when it was going on from afar, I saw her talking about a panel she was on, and I asked her when I taped this interview what that panel was about. Here's Jasmine Kano.
Singularity U hosted a panel about the future of VR. That panel went all over the place. It was about VR in education, gaming, storytelling like film, and then the audience started to ask questions, which led VR's future into robots and teaching AI how to view VR and learn about the empathy they're experiencing and apply that to their AI to help humans.
That is seriously all over the place, but that's kind of cool. So in other words, when we envision these parallel things, that the AI is advancing at this pace, then it makes sense that maybe the AI would get a VR experience where we program a VR experience so the AI can feel like how it is to be human.
Yeah. And then my favorite question was, what do you do when you wake up in virtual reality, but you're not in virtual reality, but you are? It was something like that. And that's when the question comes, like, what is real? What is reality?
Yep. When I talk about how people spend money in Second Life to outfit their avatars or to purchase land or houses, and then people say, why would you pay for non-existing things to make your non-existing avatar look appealing? And I can make so many examples for that, but then it gets kind of tiresome, which leads me to the question, and we're going all over the place too, which is fine, but just to start it off with, what do you think, and I asked Cosmo Sharf the same question, about the appeal to the mainstream person, right?
I recently saw a commercial on TV for some microwavable snacks. So it's 3 teenagers with HMDs on their face. One takes it off to go get his pizza snacks or whatever, puts it back on, then he's back in the game. That, to me, I couldn't believe it when I saw it on TV.
I saw it. I have to look it up. I think it's Hot Pockets.
That's going to get the interest of course, a lot of male teenagers.
And I saw somebody tweeted Ocean Spray has a VR experience. Ocean Spray to launch VR. Enjoy the most lovely harvest. So this is a deja vu for any Second Life enthusiasts that these brands are jumping on. Here it says this was shot with a GoPro rig in addition to aerial drones.
Oh, wow.
Ocean spray.
And then there's also big films that are advertising their movies with their VR experiences. Insidious, Insurgent, I think. But they are just having public showings of these short videos that they have in VR for anyone who's into the movie, who is probably walking by and wants to try it. But what I really like is that a lot of these are put on cardboard. So anyone who's an enthusiast who has a cardboard, they're going to want to show it off to their friends and family. So something that would really reach people more than, I don't know, say an indie game that's really quirky or a hardcore video, something more casual.
The Insidious trailer was a virtual reality experience that puts you into parts of the movie, into the house, and so it's unclear to me how interactive it was, but you're also talking about that this was available for cardboard. So it's easier to show maybe a family member who is not familiar with the technology popping in the phone and having the cardboard there. So cardboard is significant.
Oh, definitely. Almost everyone right now has either an iPhone or a really awesome Android phone in their pocket. So knowing that these people have access to this other world, I see phones as like a portal. So when I'm introducing some new VR things to one of my family members, I'll tell them, like, you have a magical thing in your pocket. You want me to show you what you can do with it? I have extra cardboards at home or that I keep in my purse or backpack. So anyone who's super into it, I give it to them. So every day to get to work and get back home, I take the train. Everyone looks so bored on the train, and I swear, like, I'll have a Gear VR on me, at least 1 or 2 cardboards, and I show people around me. I know it's gross, so I have sanitizing wipes. Like, I'm such a germaphobe. But I show all these people, like, I'm not even joking. I'll say, hey, you want to try something cool? Or do you want to watch a movie? Do you want to play a game? So, like, everyone except for one person responded really well. They wanted more information, or they wanted a cardboard. But that to me shows that, like, right now, the biggest way to get more people in it is to share it with others. Like, it's our responsibility to show everyone else in the world what's happening, what's being developed.
You sound like you belong to Scientology. That's what they tell me all the time. We gotta share what L. Ron Hubbard told us. Maybe this is some weird religion.
VR is life.
Talk to me about what you found most fascinating at VRLA. What was the really compelling experience?
Yeah, so there was that harness you get strapped into and you fly over some mountains. It's such a great experience, and I can definitely see that in an arcade. You stay at home and you play these games or watch movies because it's accessible. You can't afford to buy your own harness, set it up in your home. So this is what arcades are for, what they used to be for. Speaking of arcade, there was someone there named VRCade, and VRCade had this huge area set up for you to run around and shoot zombies in. I mean, that is so awesome. You can literally run and point in any direction, and your body is doing all these physical actions, and in the other world, in the VR world, you're shooting things. I would totally take my friends and stuff and go to the mall or wherever it's at.
And shoot zombies. Okay, so me as a pacifist, now that you're mentioning shooting, I want to go back to the very beginning where you on the panel, they talked about education and stuff like that. So was there anything at VRLA that didn't involve killing things?
One of my favorite things at VRLA was Otherworld's Nimbus Nights game. It was on the HTC Vive, where you move to a space and you get your characters to jump on, and you carry your characters to the enemies. So in the HTC Vive, you're in the sky, and your wand is like a cloud platform. So you carry your little knights over to the enemies, and they fight. Okay, yeah, never mind. It's kind of violent if you're carrying them to war. But it was so cute. You see, like, platforms of land surrounding you, and you're in the sky, these cute clouds. So there's nothing really other than these platforms floating in the air. And your wand, which is in your hand, you have control over this. It's like a paddle, but the paddle is a cloud. So you use that cloud to carry characters to another space, to another platform. The controller gives your hand the power to move a cloud around the space. Why is it so hard to describe it? Like right now, my arms are going all over the place.
These experiences are very hard to describe. I mean, that's why I find it fascinating. How will this get out to the public? And I think, like you said, and Cosmo and others said, the way in are things that are already familiar, maybe familiar movies or 360 videos, and then we go from there. Because if you talk about little men jumping up on clouds, there's a lot of people in a lot of mental institutions around the world who don't need an HMD to tell you that there are people jumping up and down on clouds. That might be a potential obstacle for mass adoption.
And that's why I'm part of the team of you gotta try it to understand it. Now let me give you some cardboard.
And you're standing in the subway and giving out cardboards in the morning. People just want a cup of coffee, but you give them cardboards. Was there any augmented reality experiences at VRLA at all, or experiences where you could switch between AR and VR?
Not that I saw, which is interesting about this VRLA, because I went to the one in March. That one had a little more hardware-focused companies and startups, where this one, I feel like it was really just a lot of storytelling, showing off brand new content. It wasn't about, check out this device that's VR but AR at the same time, or look at this new headset. Like this one was more for the artist, for the storyteller. A lot of these demos, I was just so relaxed. I was having fun. I wasn't learning about new pieces of hardware and all the tech specs and whether I should use it for my development or not.
I personally find that it's really maturing, the VRLA in that sense, or the technology. I personally find that, and that's the sense I got even just from looking at the Twitter stream, that they're really focusing on what is king. The content is king. The storytelling is king. That's always at the basis of everything. The specs don't sustain anything for a long time. There has to be some content. There has to be some meat on the bones.
I think the hardware is at a good place now, where there's not too many bugs or issues for development kits. It really allows us artists and storytellers to finally bring our ideas to life.
Did you see good stories and content that you thought was good?
There is a game. It wasn't a game, it was more like a demo of an upcoming game called Eclipse. And it took place in this, I don't know, it felt like another planet. It was in the future. It was really sci-fi, and it was kind of lonely. It just felt like a game you would play to explore this world and figure out what's going on, maybe solve some puzzles to get through. It was so beautiful. I was just lost in it. When I got to the end, I was pretty sad to come back to real life. No one talking to you, no one telling you what was going on, but the world itself and the experience you go through tells you the narrative on its own.
Are you working on things like that? Is that what you like to work on, or what are you working on right now yourself?
Right now, I'm working with 3 other people. We're trying to make casual mobile games for VR, and this came about because we are trying to create tools for artists. So our focus is creating an SDK for artists who want to explore VR but don't know much programming or coding. So my background was a lot of 3D art, a lot of 3D modeling, doing it all the time. We're having these games come out. We're creating games pretty fast. So it's kind of both now. We're creating this SDK. We really want to help more people tell their stories, while at the same time having these casual games, these fun environments you can run around through for a few minutes on your mobile device.
You're trying to enable storytellers who are not necessarily from a technological background and are able to program their own experiences.
Yeah, when I started, I signed up for some programming classes. I learned JavaScript, and then I moved on to C#. So I made a few games myself with my own art, but I still didn't know how to put it into a virtual reality device. After like a year passed by, I finally got my stuff on cardboard. But I felt like that was too long. I just wanted to tell my story. I wanted to put people in my worlds that I've created, which is why I'm so passionate about this that I'm working on right now. Because I know there's someone out there with an amazing world, and all they need is that extra push, that extra step for them to show it.
I'm obviously a Second Life enthusiast, and we have a world that is huge and where anybody can create anything and they can share it with others, and the world is populated by wonderful people from all over the world expressing their identity and their artistic sensibilities and their creativity in various forms, and it's just amazing. I have not seen anything close to this in VR. Have you seen anything other than Altspace VR, or maybe have you tried Altspace VR? That's always cited as the, I guess, VR version of Second Life. I think that's a little. They're at the beginning. I wish them the best, but it's certainly kind of a flawed comparison. But do you feel that there might be a need for something like this, like a metaverse where we're all in there and we're sharing stuff?
I can't wait for it to exist. I don't feel Altspace is even close. I feel like Altspace is more of like a chat room. It's not a world. They have an SDK to create games and put their content in their world. I saw Second Life on a computer when I was probably in 7th or 8th grade.
Oh my.
I've never tried it myself. I've never experienced it, but it looked pretty awesome. I just didn't have a computer at that moment.
And it is still the place where the most amazing stuff is happening, and that has yet to be replicated in VR. Did you try Catatonic at VRLA?
I did try it.
Can you describe what happens?
So there was a line. There's lines for everything, but this line was leading to sort of like an enclosed room. And when I peeked inside, there were like wheelchairs with like butt kickers underneath. So these people were sitting, bouncing around. It was so loud. One lady like literally screamed at the top of her lungs. Like, it scared me. Everyone in line freaked out. We're like, oh my God, like, what is she watching? So this totally builds up to this. Like, I was like so pumped. I was in line for like 10, 15 minutes. They had ladies dressed up as a nurse, assisting you, sitting you down in your wheelchair, and putting the Gear VR on your face. And so in Catatonic, you're in a wheelchair, there's someone behind you. You're being led to somewhere, to a new place. And throughout the whole experience, you're bouncing around in a wheelchair, going down the hallway, a really dark, creepy hallway, and it looks like you're in a...
You're in a mental institution in the psychiatric wing of a hospital, and you are the patient in the wheelchair, and the butt kicker. I think they trademarked that.
It does feel like there's movement going on. Okay, so the hallway looks smooth. It was a little too bouncy, but it didn't really matter just because every time you look into a room as you're going down the hall, there is freaky stuff going on. People's bodies moving in all sorts of weird shapes. And there's like the freakiest costumes and makeup and facial expressions and gestures coming at you. Constantly, my body is tensing up in different directions depending on where the actors are coming from.
So people in the experience, they're also jumping at you?
They come at you, or there's one that ran up to the wheelchair. So the nurse was gone, and it felt a little weird, so I turned around. It was so perfect how they set it up. I don't know how they gave you the cues to turn around, but when I turned around, one of the patients just ran towards the wheelchair and started like laughing, and I was like, oh my God, what is he doing? And he took me to a stairwell and just shoving me down the stairs, and the chair was moving. So it felt like I was totally not safe. I was just bouncing down the stairs. I don't know where he's taking me, but I was afraid, and he was laughing the whole time.
And like you said, the whole initial setup before you go into the experience is part of the whole thing, right? Because there is a nurse and you are in a room and you're sitting down in the wheelchair, and then they put the Gear VR on. So the whole initiation is part of this whole thing.
Yeah, the way they combined reality with the virtual reality experience, it just fits so well.
Feels a little bit exploitative. I actually used to work in civil service. I worked in a mental hospital, and I would like to have an experience that creates actually more empathy for people with psychological issues rather than exploiting them in a horror experience. But I'm also a horror fan. Conflict of interest.
It'd be cool to show like the horror experience and ending it with like, this is not true, this is not real, this is what it's really like, and then showing the truth.
That is a great idea. You actually put this together. You say, now you saw something that Hollywood would put together to get you the chills and thrills, but now let's take a look into an actual facility where we work with people with mental issues.
And then we can have AI experience that, and then have the robots that just witnessed that entire VR demo have this empathy. And that's going back to teaching AI empathy through VR.
Yes, we need the AI to look at this, and then the AI tell us that, hey, wait a minute, humans, you are perpetuating a cliche about how maybe a psychiatric ward was, in the 1850s. It's not like that anymore, humans. We're going to create a VR experience for you guys to show how things really improved.
Exactly.
So that was Jasmine Kano. We're going to link to her Twitter feed, which is always very interesting. And she is mentioning these commercials.
It's early days, and I already think that today's advertisement and experience and things they are trying in relation to VR are a lot better than when they were first trying Second Life. For instance, some movies are offering these VR experiences as part of a trailer, which is fantastic and also extremely frightening because they're already sort of getting it better than I think they got Second Life in the early days.
We're at the end of the show. There's no time anymore for recommendations on the weekend, and I'm going to be in real life on the weekend anyway because I'm going to be in Luxembourg with a gentleman called Cyber Piper, and he's actually also going to supply our origin story today. You know who Cyber Piper is because you know what Fort Tüngen is, and
yes,
1867 around that time Fort Tüngen was built.
A wonderful thing.
They have a fabulous implementation of an educational concept in where they use Second Life. It's quite brilliant. I might as well give it away. I'm going there to film for the next Drax Files episode, but here is Cyber Piper, the guy behind that project, with his origin story. And that's the end of the show. I say thanks for listening and goodbye, Joe.
Auf Wiedersehen.
My name in Second Life is Cyber Piper Rödolfs, although now I'm known as Hauptmann Weidert. I discovered Second Life through TV. Actually, I live in Luxembourg, and in Luxembourg we watch German TV. They showed a DJ who was performing in Second Life, and yes, he was even earning money with it, and I thought, wow. At that time I played already electronic music mixed with traditional music, and I called the act Cyber Piper. And I thought, well, I am Cyber Piper, so if I am not going into cyberspace, then I'm not Cyber Piper. So if there is a virtual reality somewhere where I can perform, play concerts, I have to go there. So that same night I tried desperately to log into Second Life, and it was impossible. You must believe. You can imagine everybody was trying to log into Second Life from Germany that night, and millions of people were trying to log into Second Life that night and to create an account. It took me a little while. It took me a month or so before I could start performing in Second Life. I was performing more and more. Got to a point where I performed about 3 or 4 times a week, sometimes even twice a day. What was nice about the concept was that Cyber Piper looked exactly the same in Second Life as in real life, and when I performed on stage in real life, I would have the same kind of whack with the same kind of machines, the same kind of outfit, the same glasses. In Second Life I would look exactly the same. I also did a few performances where we actually projected Second Life onto a big screen behind myself in real life, and at the same time we would project what we filmed in real life on the screen in Second Life, so it was both ways. What kept me in Second Life? First of all the music. I soon got married in Second Life, and that didn't last, like most things in Second Life don't last that long. I met my wife that I'm with now in Second Life, and that was actually a real romance because we met in Second Life a few weeks before, then we met again the same day, and in the evening we had an appointment and we met in real life, and that was it. I pretty soon started building in Second Life, so I actually went in there for the music, but soon building became the other passion in Second Life. I got the idea to recreate the city of Luxembourg in Second Life as it looks today. Kept the sim, kept it going, and it also kept me in Second Life. We played concerts there, people visited, and the other part of the story I think Draxter is going to tell us another time.
The Drax Files Radio Hour with Joe Yardley is a weekly production of Basic Drax Entertainment. The show is supported by Maven Homes, Giza Creations, Botanical, Strawberry Sing, Abranimations, Eros Avatars, Ison, Caravel Design, Humanoid Animations, Avacon, The Cube Republic, Loki Elliott, Fateware by Damien Fate, The Avazines Publication Family, What Next, Bright Canopy, Duchy Furniture, Landscapes Unlimited, Dwarfins, The Den, Following Gods Incorporated, Feroce SL, Giant Snail Races every Saturday, Kona Stream, and Death Row Designs. Contact the show via Skype, Draxfiles, Avatar Draxfiles, or email radio@draxfiles.com.